Welcome to Cybersecurity Under Pressure. Real attacks, real lessons. Every breach starts with something small. A trusted login, a missed alert, a system no one thought could matter. Here, we follow the incident. How it began, how it moved, what broke under pressure, and what security engineering and business teams should learn before the next one. Because the next attack will not wait for a perfect plan. Now, let's follow the evidence.
Welcome to Cybersecurity Under Pressure. Real attacks, real lessons. Today is Monday, June 15th, 2026. This story starts with a routine check and ends with someone losing their job. And their sleep.
Yeah, a lot of sleep. I mean, probably a month of it, honestly.
Exactly. So I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are holding a standard, old-fashioned stopwatch. You click the button to start it. 1 second passes. You just lost $600. You blink, another second passes. That is $1,200 gone. You wait 1 single minute to go, I don't know, pour yourself a cup of coffee. You are down $36,000.
Which is a pretty expensive cup of coffee.
Right. And if you let that stopwatch run for exactly 1 hour, you have effectively incinerated $2.3 million.
It's a genuinely staggering burn rate. I mean, it sounds made up.
It does. But the terrifying part is that this isn't some theoretical math exercise. That's a real number affecting real people right now.
Yeah, it is. That $2.3 million an hour is the exact calculated cost of unplanned downtime for a modern automotive manufacturing plant today.
$2.3 million.
An hour.
Every single hour. But here is the thing that completely rewrites how we have to look at this stuff. That massive factory doesn't have to be hit by a Category 5 hurricane.
Right.
Or suffer some, catastrophic mechanical failure to stop running. All it takes is the wrong piece of invisible code crossing a digital boundary.
Which is wild. Because usually when we talk about this, and welcome to the deep dive, by the way, we're looking at a massive paradigm shift.
Oh, absolutely.
For the last 3 decades, when the average person or even the average executive talked about cybersecurity, they were almost exclusively talking about information technology, IT.
Yeah, the digital stuff. We were trained to think about protecting data.
Yeah.
Your personal emails, your credit card numbers, a corporation's intellectual property.
The servers hosting a website,
Right.
cloud storage environments.
Right, the stuff that essentially lives trapped behind glass. It's on a screen.
And if it gets stolen, I mean, it's a huge headache. It's a privacy violation. It might cost a lot of money in lawsuits and fines. But it remains a digital problem. It stays behind the glass. But today, in this deep dive, we are stepping out from behind that glass. We are crossing over into operational technology, OT.
The physical world.
Exactly. This is the realm where computer code reaches out and manipulates the physical world.
The actual kinetic movement.
Yes. We are talking about the microprocessors that physically open and close massive steel valves in municipal water treatment plants.
Wow.
We're talking about the systems that regulate the boiling temperature of, volatile chemical vats, the controllers that route high-voltage electricity across the national power grid.
And those robotic arms on the assembly lines.
Right. The ones burning millions of dollars an hour when they suddenly freeze up because of a rogue command over a remote access portal.
The stakes are incredibly high. I mean, the invisible digital borders keeping our physical world safe are just quietly collapsing.
Yeah.
So today, our mission for this deep dive into our source material is to look at exactly how and why that has happened.
We have to unpack it.
Here we're going to pull apart the mechanics of how adversaries are evolving, from just stealing data to actively targeting physical machinery. We're going to break down the anatomy of a real-world hack that cost the global economy nearly £2 billion.
The JLR incident, yeah, it's brutal.
It's insane. And most importantly, we're going to explore what it actually takes to survive a digital attack that has real-world kinetic consequences.
And to do that properly, we really have to start by tearing down a lot of preconceived notions. Because if you take the absolute best, most rigorous IT security practices in the world,
Like the playbooks used by top banks.
yeah, top banks, big tech companies, if you take those playbooks and you simply drop them onto a factory floor, you don't just fail to secure the factory, you can actually cause a physical disaster yourself.
Okay, wait. Help me understand that, because on the surface, a computer is a computer.
Right, that's the trap.
Why can't we just take the firewalls, the antivirus software, the routine security scans we use for our corporate laptops, and just plug them into the systems running a chemical plant?
Because it comes down to a fundamental clash in philosophy. It's completely backward. In the traditional IT security world, the absolute gold standard guiding every single decision is known as the CIA triad.
Right, confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Exactly. And with confidentiality sitting right at the absolute top of the pyramid.
Always. Let's look at a major bank. Their primary non-negotiable directive is to keep their customers' financial data secret.
Yes. If the bank's online portal goes down for an hour, which is a loss of availability, customers will definitely be annoyed.
They'll complain on social media, for sure.
Right. But if the bank's database is breached and millions of account numbers are published on the dark web, which is a loss of confidentiality, that is an existential crisis for the business.
It's game over.
So therefore, every IT system is engineered to aggressively protect secrets.
So if a security program detects something suspicious on a server, the immediate reflex is just to kill it.
Kill it instantly. The standard automated IT playbook is rapid isolation. You quarantine the infected machine. You sever its network connection. You lock the remote access users out. You protect the sensitive data at the expense of keeping the machine running.
Okay, so that is the IT mindset, CIA. Confidentiality first. What happens to that philosophy when we step onto the factory floor, like into the OT space?
In operational technology, you have to take that entire triangle and completely invert it. The model becomes AIC.
Availability first, then integrity and confidentiality is what last?
It's a distant, almost irrelevant third. Availability is the absolute, unquestionable priority.
Because the machines have to keep moving.
They have to, because in OT, we are no longer dealing with spreadsheets, We are dealing with physics, chemistry, thermodynamics, momentum.
Real-world forces.
Yeah. If you are managing a blast furnace or a high-pressure natural gas pipeline, the continuous, uninterrupted operation of that system, its availability, is very often the only thing keeping the physical process from destroying itself.
Man, I'm trying to picture the real-world consequence of this. Let's say we put that aggressive banking IT security software onto the computer controlling a chemical reactor.
The outcome could literally be lethal. Imagine a scenario where the chemical reaction is exothermic.
Meaning it generates its own heat.
Right, and the computer is constantly adjusting a cooling valve to keep it from boiling over. If your aggressive IT security software suddenly detects a strange network ping from, say, a vendor's remote access tunnel.
Oh, wow.
And it decides, hey, that looks like malware, and automatically quarantines that controller.
You don't just get an error message on a screen.
No. The controller is locked out, which means it stops adjusting the cooling valve.
And the chemical reaction doesn't care that your antivirus software is running a scan.
Exactly. It doesn't care. The heat builds, the pressure rises, and because the controller is isolated from the network, the human operators in the control room might not even see the pressure spiking.
They're blind.
An IT failure results in data loss. An OT failure results in an environmental disaster or loss of human life.
That makes perfect sense in those extreme scenarios. But I want to push back a little here. Surely there are routine IT maintenance tasks that factories, have to do.
You'd think so, yeah.
What about just scanning the network for vulnerabilities? In a corporate office, IT departments run automated scans constantly. They ping every device, ask it what operating system it's running, check to see if any weird digital doors are left open. What is the harm in just looking at the network?
It sounds harmless, I know, until you look at the actual hardware running a factory.
Okay.
OT environments rely heavily on devices called programmable logic controllers, or PLCs. These are not modern laptops with multi-core processors. They are essentially ruggedized industrial pocket calculators.
Pocket calculators? Seriously?
Yeah, basically. They are designed to do one highly specific physical task incredibly well, like reading a temperature sensor thousands of times a second. And they do it using hardware that might be 20 years old.
So they aren't exactly packing a lot of processing power to handle extra tasks.
They have almost none to spare. Their entire CPU is dedicated to maintaining the physics of their assigned task. Their network communication stacks are notoriously fragile.
So if you ping them too much.
If you hit a legacy PLC with a standard IT network scan, which sends, thousands of unexpected queries in a matter of seconds, you will completely overwhelm its tiny processor.
It just panicked.
It completely panicked. The processor gets flooded with these IT requests, it runs out of memory, and it drops its primary physical task to try and answer them. The PLC crashes, or it forces a fail-safe physical shutdown.
Wow. So you have essentially DDoSed your own factory floor just by trying to check its security posture.
Yeah, you took yourself offline. Good job, IT.
Okay, so active scanning is out. But what about patching? I mean, in the IT world, Patch Tuesday is a religion.
Oh yeah, it's mandatory.
Microsoft or Apple finds a security flaw, they push out a fix, and millions of computers automatically update and reboot. I'm struggling to see how running unpatched, vulnerable software in a critical infrastructure facility isn't just like gross negligence. How do compliance auditors even allow them to skip patches?
Well, they don't skip them entirely, but they have to approach them with extreme caution. Because an OT system is a finely tuned orchestra of timing. You cannot auto-deploy a Tuesday patch to a robotic arm moving heavy car chassis on an assembly line.
Because of the reboot required.
Not just the reboot, the patch itself alters the code. Even a routine operating system update can change how a processor handles timing by a fraction of a millisecond.
Wait, a millisecond matters?
In OT, absolutely. In an IT environment, if Excel opens 2 milliseconds slower after an update, a human being literally cannot perceive it. But if a robotic welding arm receives its command 2 milliseconds late,
It misses its mark.
it misses its mark, it collides with the chassis, and destroys $1 million worth of equipment.
Oh man, it sounds like applying IT security to OT is like trying to perform mandatory brain surgery on a marathon runner while they're mid-sprint. You can't just pause their heart to install a new driver.
That is a very, very accurate way to visualize it. Patching requires scheduled downtime, immense engineering analysis, and running the patch in a simulation environment for weeks before it ever touches the live factory floor.
Okay, I hear you. The internal OT systems are incredibly fragile. They can't handle security scans, they can't run modern antivirus, and they are incredibly difficult to patch.
Right.
If I'm listening to this and I'm running a manufacturing plant, I'm screaming at my dashboard right now. Just unplug the factory from the internet.
Ah, the classic solution.
Right. If the systems are that delicate, why on earth are they connected to the outside world in the first place? I always hear about the air gap. Keep the factory isolated, and you solve the problem.
The air gap is the most dangerous, pervasive myth in modern industrial security. It's a ghost.
A myth. But it used to be real, right?
It used to be reality, sure, perhaps 30 years ago. A factory floor was a genuinely closed electrical loop. But the global economic drive for extreme efficiency, data analytics, and what the industry calls Industry 4.0 has permanently demolished the air gap.
Industry 4.0.
Yep.
Meaning the digitization and networking of manufacturing.
Yes. The pressure to connect everything is immense. A CEO sitting in a boardroom in New York wants to pull out their iPad and see the real-time production metrics of a facility in Germany.
Which requires a data bridge.
Exactly. And then you have the vendor who sold the factory a multi-million-dollar turbine. They demand remote internet access to the machine so they can perform predictive maintenance and monitor wear and tear from their own headquarters.
Oh, so there's a third-party VPN tunnel going straight into the factory.
Yes, that requires a VPN bridge. Supply chains are now so deeply integrated that the moment a bin of screws gets low on the factory floor, an automated signal is sent through the cloud to a supplier to ship more.
So the plant's internal fragile systems are constantly talking to the corporate IT networks, which are connected to the open internet.
Inevitably, yes. We see engineering workstations directly connected to enterprise IT domains. We see SCADA telemetry.
SCADA meaning the massive software systems that human operators use to visually monitor the plant.
Right. We see those systems pushing raw data directly into third-party cloud analytics platforms. The bottom line is that the air gap is gone.
It's just Swiss cheese now.
It really is. Every single efficiency tool, every remote maintenance port, every cloud dashboard creates a digital bridge between the relatively exposed corporate IT network and the highly sensitive physical OT network.
Which means if an attacker compromises a board accountant's laptop in the HR department or cracks a vendor's remote access portal, there might be an invisible pathway straight down to the chemical reactors.
And adversaries have spent the last 5 years figuring out exactly how to map and exploit those specific pathways.
Which is terrifying. Let's talk about those adversaries, because Chapter 2 of our deep dive here, The data on the current threat landscape from the Dragos report is deeply unsettling.
It's a whole new world out there.
We are no longer talking about individuals in basements trying to steal credit card databases to sell on the dark web. The attackers targeting physical infrastructure have evolved into highly coordinated, specialized ecosystems.
Yeah, we are tracking a maturation in the adversary landscape that honestly mirrors the complexity of a Fortune 500 company.
Like they have HR departments?
Basically, these are not isolated actors. They are syndicates with distinct departments. Threat intelligence analysts, like the team at Dragos, track these groups using specific naming conventions, often based on minerals, to differentiate their unique tactics and goals.
Okay, help me understand how these groups operate, because you mentioned they are specialized. Do we have different groups handling different parts of the attack, like contractors?
We do. It's a gig economy for cyber war. Consider a group tracked under the designation Sylvanite. Their specialty is the Vanguard operation, the breach.
Right. They are experts at exploiting standard IT vulnerabilities, like an unpatched router or exploiting a weak remote access VPN password to establish a solid, persistent foothold inside a target's corporate network.
They kick the door open and hold it. But they don't necessarily execute the final destructive attack on the physical machinery themselves. Instead, they operate almost like an initial access broker.
They sell the access.
Yeah, they secure the IT foothold and then hand off that access to a much more specialized group known as VoltSite.
A literal handoff,
Oh,
or relay race for cyber warfare.
And VoltSite is deeply concerning because they possess what we call Stage 2 capabilities in the industrial control system's cyber kill chain.
Stage 2, meaning what?
They are not interested in the IT network's billing data. Once they get the baton from Sylvanite, they push deep into the OT environment. They actively manipulate engineering workstations.
You go for the throat.
They do. They silently dump configuration files to understand how the factory is wired. They pull alarm data to see what the human operators are currently monitoring.
So they are stealing the blueprints to the physical processes.
They are doing their homework on the physics of the target. They are investigating what specific digital commands will force a physical valve to stick open, or what sequence of code will override a temperature warning.
That is a terrifying level of reconnaissance. I mean, it's one thing to steal a password. It's a completely different level of sophistication to study engineering schematics, so you know exactly which valve to manipulate to build up lethal pressure.
And they are not alone. Another group, Camicite, has been observed systematically mapping control loops across vast swaths of U.S. critical infrastructure, performing massive, quiet reconnaissance. Just mapping it out. Meanwhile, groups like Pyroxeny have escalated to actual destruction during regions' conflicts, deploying custom wiper malware.
Wiper malware, meaning it doesn't hold anything for ransom, it just destroys.
Its sole purpose is to permanently erase the logic on the controllers and brick the systems, causing maximum physical disruption and requiring total hardware replacement. You have to buy new machines.
Wow. You mentioned ransom. The statistics surrounding industrial ransomware are just exploding. We are seeing a nearly 50% increase in attacks year over year, impacting thousands of industrial organizations globally.
It's everywhere.
But there's something I'm struggling with here. When I think of ransomware, I think of a pop-up on a screen saying, pay $1,000 in Bitcoin or we delete your files.
Right, the classic IT ransomware.
Why is that such a massive threat to a factory? Isn't ransomware just an IT problem? If my email server gets encrypted, the robotic arm on the floor can still physically weld the car door.
Right, you are echoing a very common and very dangerous misconception held by a lot of corporate executives right now. They assume that ransomware only encrypts Windows files, spreadsheets, and databases.
Which it does.
It does. Therefore, they think the physical plant, which runs on those specialized legacy PLCs we discussed, should be perfectly fine.
Right. The PLC is an industrial calculator. It doesn't run Windows. It shouldn't care about Windows ransomware.
The PLC itself might not run Windows, no. But we have to look at how human beings interact with that PLC. You don't have engineers walking around the factory floor plugging keyboards directly into hundreds of tiny PLCs.
That would be absurd.
It would. All of those PLCs feed their data up to centralized human-machine interfaces, HMIs, and massive engineering workstations in a comfortable air-conditioned control room.
The big screens showing all the dials, gauges, and pressure levels.
Exactly. And those HMIs and engineering workstations almost exclusively run on standard commercial Windows operating systems. They are just as vulnerable to standard ransomware as an accountant's laptop.
Oh, Oh, I see where this is going.
If a ransomware group breaches the network and encrypts the Windows-based HMI, the underlying PLC down on the floor might still be mechanically running the robotic arm or pumping the chemicals.
But the human operator sitting in the control room is now completely blind.
Yes. Their screens are locked, they cannot see the pressure levels, they cannot see the core temperature, they cannot send new commands to slow the process down.
The collateral damage immediately bleeds from the IT software layer straight into the physical operations layer.
And we are seeing adversaries build custom tools specifically for the scenario. There is a ransomware variant known as Termite, built using leaked source code.
Termite.
Yeah. It has aggressive, custom-coded capabilities designed to specifically hunt down and terminate industrial processes running on those Windows machines before it encrypts them.
So it knows what an OT environment looks like.
It knows exactly what it's looking at. It ensures that the operator is totally disconnected from the physical process before they even realize what's happening.
I want to ground this in reality because talking about theoretical malware variants can feel, abstract. Let's look at how this actually manifests in the wild. I want to talk about the Colonial Pipeline incident from 2021.
A classic.
This feels like the textbook case study of how an IT problem physically paralyzed half the United States.
Colonial Pipeline perfectly illustrates the danger of the IT-OT convergence we've been discussing. To understand what happened, we have to look at the access point.
How they got in.
Right. The attackers didn't use some impossibly complex zero-day exploit. They found a single compromised password for a legacy VPN account.
A virtual private network, basically a remote access digital tunnel into the company's internal network.
A tunnel that was meant for employees to access the corporate IT systems from home. The attackers walked right through that remote access tunnel and deployed ransomware strictly on the IT side of the house.
They encrypted the corporate billing systems, the ticketing systems, the business operations data.
Yep. But they didn't actually hack the pipeline itself. They didn't touch the OT network or the pumps moving the fuel.
Wait, they didn't?
No, they didn't need to. Think about what a pipeline billing system actually does. It isn't just generating invoices at the end of the month. It is a highly complex metering system.
Okay.
It tracks the exact volume of liquid passing through specific physical checkpoints in real time, assigning financial value based on fluctuating commodity markets, and determining exactly whose fuel is going where.
So without the IT billing system, Colonial Pipeline was flying blind commercially.
Totally blind. They didn't know who they were pumping fuel to, how much was going where, or how to legally bill for the transfer. Furthermore, there was massive internal panic. The executive and the security teams did not have total confidence that the IT and OT networks were perfectly segregated.
They didn't know if the air gap was real.
Exactly. They feel the ransomware might discover one of those invisible bridges and cross over into the physical control systems.
So they made a choice.
Out of an abundance of caution, Colonial proactively ordered the physical shutdown of the pipeline operations themselves. They stopped the pumps.
Wow. A purely IT compromise. A hacked billing network via a remote access VPN caused a massive physical fuel shortage across the entire U.S. East Coast.
Leading to panic buying, gas stations running dry, and grounded airplanes.
That is a staggering cascading effect from a single stolen password. But as bad as Colonial was, the attackers were just after money. They weren't trying to blow the pipeline up.
No, they were just greedy.
Right. I want to look at a darker escalation. Let's talk about the Triton attack in Saudi Arabia in 2017.
Triton. Triton represents a fundamental crossing of the Rubicon in industrial cybersecurity. This was an attack on a major petrochemical facility, and the adversaries were not looking for a ransom.
They wanted to break things.
They wanted to kill people. They were not targeting the IT network, and they weren't even targeting the primary OT systems running the daily chemical process. They specifically targeted the Safety Instrumented System, the SIS.
Okay, help me visualize the architecture here. What is a safety instrumented system, and how does it relate to the rest of the plant?
So, in any hazardous environment, a petrochemical plant, an oil refinery, a nuclear facility, you have your primary distributed control systems. These are the PLCs and computers actively mixing chemicals, managing heat, and moving fluids.
The day-to-day workers.
Right. But engineering acknowledges that primary systems can fail. Valves can stick, sensors can break. So completely independent of the primary controls, you install an SIS.
An independent backup.
More than a backup. It is the absolute last line of physical defense. It has its own dedicated sensors, its own wiring, and its own specialized controllers. Its only job is to sit quietly and monitor for critical safety thresholds.
Like a silent guardian.
Exactly. If the primary systems fail and a chemical vat starts building pressure toward an explosive limit, the SIS detects the anomaly and automatically triggers an emergency physical shutdown. It overrides everything to prevent a catastrophe.
It is the physical emergency brake. Or like the airbags in a car. You never use them to drive, but if you crash, they're the only thing that saves you.
A perfect analogy. Now, consider the Triton malware. The attackers managed to infiltrate the plant's network, likely through a remote access point, and locate the specific engineering workstations that interact with the safety systems.
Okay.
The facility used proprietary safety controllers manufactured by Schneider Electric called Triconex.
Proprietary meaning the code isn't open source. You can't just Google how it works.
No, you cannot. The attackers had to acquire a Triconex controller, take it into a lab, and painstakingly reverse engineer its specialized, undocumented communication protocol.
That takes serious funding and time.
State-level funding. They then wrote custom malware Triton, specifically designed to inject malicious logic directly into the safety controllers.
Wait, hold on. Why attack the safety system? If you want to cause an explosion, wouldn't you attack the primary system that controls the pressure?
Think about it. If you attack the primary system and cause a pressure spike, the independent safety system will simply detect it and shut the plant down safely. Your attack fails.
Oh, wow.
The Triton adversaries understood this. Their goal was to secretly alter the logic of the safety system first, essentially disabling the airbags, so that when they subsequently triggered a catastrophic failure in the primary process, the fail-safes would be blind to the danger and would not trigger.
They were systematically dismantling the safety nets to ensure kinetic destruction. That is absolutely terrifying.
It is a direct, premeditated attempt to cause massive kinetic damage, environmental devastation, and massive loss of human life. The only reason it failed was a slight error in the attacker's custom code, which accidentally tripped an alarm and alerted the plant engineers before they could execute the second stage.
A typo saved the plant.
Literally, a coding bug saved lives.
We've talked about a stolen VPN password at Colonial and reverse-engineered proprietary hardware with Triton. I want to look at one more historical precedent before we get to the present day, because it highlights just how trivial the access point can be, especially when we talk about remote access.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let's look at the water treatment facility in Oldsmar, Florida in 2021.
Oldsmar is a chilling example of the visibility crisis we face in municipal infrastructure. Water treatment plants are critical, but they are often severely underfunded and understaffed.
Which means they take shortcuts.
To manage the workload, engineers frequently rely on remote access tools. In Oldsmar, an attacker gained access to the plant's internal systems using seemingly dormant, commercial remote desktop software.
Like TeamViewer, the stuff IT support uses to fix your laptop screen remotely.
Exactly. Commercial, off-the-shelf remote access software, TeamViewer. The attacker breached the IT environment, found the remote access tool, and pivoted directly onto the OT control interface.
Just bypassed everything.
Yep. And an actual human operator sitting in the water plant suddenly noticed their mouse cursor moving across the screen on its own.
That's like a ghost in the machine. That's so creepy.
The operator sat there and watched the cursor navigate the chemical control software. The attacker opened the controls for sodium hydroxide.
Which is lye, right?
Yes, lye is used in tiny amounts to control water acidity and prevent lead from leaching out of the pipes.
So in large amounts, lye causes severe chemical burns to human tissue. It's poison.
The attacker attempted to change the sodium hydroxide levels in the municipal water supply from a safe 100 parts per million to 11,100 parts per million, a lethal, highly corrosive dose.
Just by typing numbers into a text box on a remote screen over TeamViewer?
Yes. Thankfully, the human operator was physically present, saw it happening, and immediately reversed the change. There were also downstream physical chemical alarms that likely would have caught the spike before it reached homes.
Thank goodness.
But Oldsmar proves a terrifying point. An attacker crossed from a basic commercial IT remote access tool directly into the real-time manipulation of a life safety process.
Which brings us perfectly to the core of our deep dive today, Chapter 3. We've talked about the theory, we've talked about the historical evolution of these attacks. Now, I want to look at what happens when this reality collides with the global economy right now.
It gets expensive.
It gets devastating. Let's walk through the anatomy of an absolute economic disaster. The Jaguar Land Rover hack of late 2025.
The Jaguar Land Rover incident, JLR, is already being studied as a watershed moment in industrial cybersecurity. It is the ultimate manifestation of the IT-OT convergence risk we've been outlining.
I mean, we opened this whole discussion with the statistic of a plant costing $2.3 million an hour in downtime. The JLR attack is that statistic brought to life on a massive global scale.
Yep.
What started as an intrusion on the IT network forced a total synchronized shutdown of vehicle production worldwide for over a month.
And to truly grasp the scale of the devastation, we have to look beyond the company itself. Economic analysis estimates that this single cyber attack cost the British economy roughly 1.9 billion pounds.
That is nearly 2.5 billion US dollars.
It is officially the most economically damaging cyber event in the history of the United Kingdom.
Okay, let's break down exactly how this happened. We just talked about Triton reverse engineering safety controllers. Did the attackers write some incredibly sophisticated zero-day exploit to hack the robotic welding arms on the JLR assembly line?
They didn't touch the robotic arms. They didn't need to write a single line of custom OT code.
Wait, really?
Nope. The attackers are linked to a syndicate known as Shiny Hunters, specifically a notorious subgroup tracked as Scattered Spider.
I've heard of them. They target IT mostly.
Their primary weapon is not complex programming. It is aggressive, highly sophisticated social engineering.
Social engineering.
Yeah.
Hacking the human.
Specifically, a technique called vishing voice phishing. Scattered Spider operators are incredibly fluent in corporate culture. They research employees on LinkedIn. They figure out who works in the IT help desk.
Okay.
Then they pick up the phone and call the help desk, perfectly impersonating an employee who claims to be locked out of their remote access account.
Wow. They just call them.
They understand the internal jargon, they use psychological pressure, and they manipulate the support staff into resetting passwords or bypassing multi-factor authentication protocols for their remote VPN.
So they just talk their way through the front door. They convinced a human being to hand over the keys to the IT network.
Precisely. They established a massive privileged presence inside the corporate IT environment. But the critical question is why an IT breach forced a global manufacturing shutdown?
Right, because if they are just in the email servers or the HR database, why stop building cars?
This goes back to Industry 4.0. Modern automotive production is a marvel of integration. JLR does not just build cars. They operate a tightly wound, synchronized logistics network. They utilize complex manufacturing execution systems and just-in-time supplier portals.
Just in time meaning they don't keep thousands of steering wheels in a warehouse somewhere. The parts arrive exactly when they are needed.
Exactly. You cannot build a modern, highly customized vehicle if the IT system cannot... It needs to be bolted into which specific chassis at exactly 2:14 p.m.
It's a continuous stream of data.
The entire production sequence relies on a continuous, uninterrupted flow of data from the corporate IT layer down to the PLCs.
So it isn't just a bridge between IT and OT. It's a completely interwoven nervous system. If the IT brain stops sending signals, the OT body can't move.
That is the vulnerability. When JLR security teams detected the Scattered Spider intrusion on their enterprise remote access networks, they were forced into a brutal calculation.
Is Sophie's choice.
Yes, they knew the threat actor. They knew Scattered Spider routinely deploys highly destructive ransomware. And they knew that if the infection utilized that deeply interwoven nervous system to cross from the IT servers onto the factory floor OT networks, the physical damage to the machinery and the required recovery time would be catastrophic.
So JLR had to make a choice.
They chose to amputate. To contain the blast radius and protect the physical factories from being encrypted, JLR proactively severed the connections and shut down their own IT systems.
They pulled the plug on themselves to save the patient.
Yes, and that decision meant the just-in-time data stopped flowing, which meant the parts stopped arriving, which meant sales, registration, and global production lines were brought to an absolute, immediate standstill.
And the ripple effect was staggering. It wasn't just JLR taking the hit. Reports indicate that over 5,000 different supply chain organizations were impacted.
It's an ecosystem collapse.
Because if JLR isn't assembling cars, they aren't buying alternators or microchips or windshield wiper motors. The suppliers, many of which are smaller companies operating on thin margins, stop making money the very same day.
The cascading economic failure was so severe and so rapid that it triggered emergency government intervention.
The government had to step in.
The UK government had to step in and underwrite loans. JLR themselves had to launch a massive emergency financing scheme just to inject upfront cash into their supply chain so those smaller businesses wouldn't go bankrupt while the main factories sat idle.
It's an incredible scenario. The attackers used a phone call to steal a remote access password, they never touched a piece of factory machinery, and they effectively crippled an entire national manufacturing sector.
This highlights a crucial concept outlined in the MITRE ATT&CK for ICS framework. In traditional IT security, we are obsessed with data theft or data encryption. In OT security, we focus on a tactic known as loss of view or denial of control.
Loss of view, meaning the operators literally cannot see what the machinery is doing.
Exactly. As we discussed earlier with the termite ransomware, the attacker doesn't necessarily have to break the physical machine or alter the logic inside the PLC. If they simply encrypt the screens of the engineering workstations, or if they sever the network connection between the control room and the factory floor, as JLR was forced to do, the plant manager suffers a loss of view.
They are flying completely blind. They have no idea if the boiler is operating at a normal pressure or if it is 5 minutes away from exploding.
And in industrial safety, operating a high-risk physical process without visibility is unacceptable. If you suffer a loss of view, your safety protocols mandate that you must hit the emergency stop button. The attacker doesn't shut down your plant. They create a condition where you are forced to shut it down yourself.
I'm struggling with the detail here, though. Let's move into Chapter 4, the visibility crisis. When JLR discovered the hackers in the IT network, why couldn't they just hunt them down?
What do you mean?
Why couldn't they look at the internal network traffic, see exactly which specific machines the hackers were touching via that remote access, and isolate just those machines instead of shutting down the entire global company?
You are hitting on the core systemic vulnerability that plagues almost every industrial sector right now. It is the massive industry-wide visibility crisis. If you look at the forensic data from Dragos, the statistics are incredibly jarring.
I have it right here. According to the reporting, 88% of OT networks struggle with basic detection and response capabilities. Even more critically, 56% of organizations cannot see anything happening below the IT/OT boundary.
That 56% figure is the root cause of why these attacks succeed.
More than half are total blind.
Completely blind. To understand what below the boundary means, we need to look at how modern industrial networks are structurally designed. The global industry standard for architectural security is called the Purdue Enterprise Reference Architecture, commonly known as the Purdue model.
Okay, let's unpack the Purdue model. Help me visualize this structure.
Think of a manufacturing plant as a massive multi-story building. The Purdue model organizes the network into hierarchical floors or levels. Level 0 is the basement. This is the actual physical process, the steel pipe, the electric motor, the mechanical valve.
And dumb metal.
Right. Level 1 is the ground floor, occupied by the basic controllers, the PLCs we talked about, that directly send electrical voltages to the valves in the basement.
Okay, that's level 1.
Level 2 is the supervisor level, the local control rooms with the HMI screens where human operators watch the PLCs. Level 3 is site-wide operations, managing the entire facility's workflow.
Still mostly on the factory side.
Exactly. Finally, levels 4 and 5 are the top floors, the corporate enterprise IT network, email servers, remote access VPNs, and the cloud.
So it's a structural hierarchy. Physical machines in the basement, corporate executives in the penthouse.
Exactly. And the critical boundary we were talking about sits right between level 3, the top of the OT factory floor, and level 4, the bottom of the corporate IT network. International security standards dictate that you must create a strict demilitarized zone, a DMZ, sitting at level 3.5.
Level 3.5. It's the security checkpoint between the penthouse and the factory floor.
Yeah.
Below that checkpoint.
Right. An organization might have state-of-the-art security visibility on their corporate laptops at level 4. They can see every file being opened, every website visited. But once a piece of data crosses down through the DMZ into the PLCs at level 1, it becomes a complete black box. They are blind.
But wait, earlier we established why they are blind. You told me we cannot install standard IT security software like an antivirus agent onto a level 1 PLC because it will crash the fragile processor and shut down the plant.
That remains true. You cannot put active IT security agents on OT hardware. It's too brittle.
So if they can't patch them, and they can't scan them, and they can't install antivirus on them, how on earth is a security team supposed to know if an attacker like Volt CIT is inside the factory network?
The answer is entirely different from IT. You rely on passive network monitoring and deep packet inspection.
Passive monitoring, meaning you don't interact with the devices at all.
You don't ask the devices questions. Instead, you sit quietly on the network switches and you listen to every single piece of data flowing between the machines.
Like wiretapping your own factory.
Yes. But here's the challenge. OT systems do not speak the same language as IT systems. They use highly specialized legacy industrial protocols, languages like Modbus, DNP3, Profinet, or OPC UA.
So standard IT security software wouldn't even understand the traffic if it saw it.
Standard IT tools are completely protocol blind. If an IT firewall sees a packet of Modbus data, it just sees a string of numbers. It doesn't know the difference between a routine, automated command checking a boiler's temperature and a malicious command sent by a hacker instructing the boiler to turn off its cooling pump.
Okay, I think I have an analogy for this. Tell me if this works. Instead of having an active security guard in every single room checking ID badges, which would be like an IT antivirus agent, you essentially need a highly trained linguist sitting quietly inside the factory's air ducts.
Ooh, I like that.
They just listen to the raw native language of the factory humming along, waiting to notice if someone suddenly starts speaking with a malicious accent or issuing strange commands.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The linguist in the air ducts needs to be perfectly fluent in Modbus. You need specialized out-of-band monitoring solutions. There are systems designed specifically for this, utilizing deep packet inspection to decode the industrial languages.
So they translate it on the fly.
Exactly. Some advanced solutions even bypass the network entirely and monitor the raw electrical signals coming directly from the physical sensors.
Oh, that's smart. Because by monitoring the physical electrical signals, the attacker can't hide their tracks. Even if they alter the software logs on the network to cover their tracks, they can't fake the raw voltage coming off a physical pressure gauge.
Precisely. You spend months passively baselining the normal, healthy communication patterns of the factory. You learn exactly what the facility is supposed to sound like. Then your system instantly flags any behavioral anomaly. A PLC talking to a machine it has never spoken to before, or a controller receiving a firmware update command at 3 a.m. on a Sunday over a remote vendor portal.
But to even set up that kind of passive monitoring, you need an incredible understanding of your own infrastructure. You need to know where all the cables go.
Which is why incident response frameworks hammer home the absolute necessity of a collection management framework, or CMF. A CMF is a rigorous, painstakingly detailed inventory of every single data log and network switch in your OT environment.
Every single one.
Every single one. You have to know exactly how long logs are kept, who has access to them, and what specific forensic questions they can answer. Because if you suffer an attack and you don't have a CMF, your incident responders will waste the first crucial 48 hours just trying to figure out if security data even exists in the factory, let alone what it says.
Okay, so we have our structural Purdue model, we have our DMZ at level 3.5, we have our passive linguist in the air ducts decoding Modbus, and we have a rigorous CMF. That is the ideal defense playbook. But what happens when all of that fails?
It often does.
Right. What happens when Scattered Spider gets through the DMZ via some compromised remote access, encrypts the engineering workstations, the operator loses view, and the plant manager is forced to hit the emergency stop?
You transition from defense to incident response. And as the data clearly shows in Chapter 5, recovering a physical OT plant is a completely different universe from rebooting an IT server.
And this brings us to what I find the most fascinating psychological component of this entire deep dive. The Macrium report refers to it as the backup paradox.
It is a phenomenal phrase that captures the exact dilemma plant managers face. Macrium surveyed the state of backup and recovery in the manufacturing sector. What they found is that manufacturers have actually invested heavily in backup technology. 75% of organizations are utilizing complex hybrid backups, combining local on-premise hardware with redundant cloud storage.
So the technology's there, they have the data saved, it's protected.
They have the data. But the paradox lies in the actual performance during a crisis. Despite all of that investment in hybrid technology, only 18% of manufacturers can actually meet their recovery time objectives during a simulated test.
18%. I hear that, but I'm struggling with the logic. If you have a clean, protected backup of your systems, shouldn't you just wipe the infected machines, click restore, and get the assembly line back to work? Why is the failure rate so high?
Because you are thinking like an IT professional. In an IT environment, restoring a server is a predictable, linear process. If your email server is encrypted with ransomware, you wipe the hard drives, You pull the clean image from the cloud backup, you reinstall it, and the server is back in business. The restoration of the data is the recovery.
You got your files back, you're good.
Right. But in OT, restoring the data isn't the end of the story.
Not even close.
Not even close. In OT, restoring a PLC's logic file from a cloud backup is not enough to restart a massive physical plant. The limiting factor is a concept called operational confidence.
Operational confidence.
Let's put you in the shoes of a plant manager. You run a massive facility producing volatile industrial chemicals. Your remote access networks were breached, the screens went dark, and the safety systems automatically triggered a massive screeching halt to the entire facility.
Okay, I'm stressed already.
You should be. The pipes are full of half-reacted chemicals cooling down. 24 hours later, your IT security team walks into your office. They say, "Great news, we wiped the servers, we restored the control logic from Tuesday's backup, and the network is clean. We are ready to restart the reaction."
As the plant manager, my first reaction is relief. Let's fire it up. Time is money.
But then you stop and think. The question you have to ask isn't just, do we have a backup? The critical life or death question is, why is it safe to hit the start button right now? How do you definitively know that the attacker wasn't silently inside your network for a month before they triggered the final shutdown?
Oh man. And we know from the reports that adversaries love to linger. The average dwell time for a threat actor inside an OT network before they detect it is 42 days.
Exactly. So if you blindly restore a backup from Tuesday or last week or even last month, you have a very high probability of simply restoring the attacker's hidden backdoors.
You're just inviting them back in.
But it gets worse. What if, 3 weeks ago, Volt CD subtly manipulated the chemical recipe logic inside the PLC backup itself? What if they changed the cooling threshold from 100 degrees to 200 degrees, but they didn't execute the final ransomware payload until today?
So if I restore that backup, the IT security software says the file is clean from malware, but the engineering logic inside the file is physically poisoned.
If you do not have an unbroken, mathematically proven evidence chain showing that the engineering logic in that restored backup is perfectly pristine, restarting that physical process could cause a catastrophic chemical spill. It could trigger an explosion.
The quote from the Macrium report summarizes this perfectly. In IT, restoring service is often the visible milestone. In OT, the real milestone is operational confidence. You cannot just cross your fingers, hit start on a blast furnace, and hope for the best.
You cannot, and yet, the psychological pressure on that plant manager is immense. As we established, downtime in automotive is $2.3 million an hour.
The executive board is probably screaming on a conference call for production to resume.
The pressure to simply hit the start button can easily become stronger than the engineering confidence required to do it safely. And that is exactly the moment when lethal mistakes happen.
This friction between downtime and recovery connects directly to a truly wild paradox highlighted in the Siemens True Cost of Downtime report. Siemens points out that the industry's massive push toward predictive maintenance, using thousands of IoT sensors and AI algorithms to predict when a physical machine is going to break before it actually fails, has been incredibly successful.
It has. It's reduced the sheer volume of downtime incidents significantly. 5 years ago, plants averaged 42 unplanned incidents a month. Today, they average only 25.
The predictive technology is undeniably working. It is catching the degrading pump bearings and the overheating motors early.
Right. But here is the paradox. Even though plants are breaking down less frequently, when they do go down today, it takes them significantly longer to recover.
Right. The average recovery time per incident jumped from 49 minutes 5 years ago to 81 minutes today.
It's a fascinating statistical inversion, and it perfectly illustrates the compounding complexity of the modern OT environment. Because predictive maintenance has solved all the easy problems, the worn-out conveyor belts, the simple mechanical faults. The only problems that remain, the ones that actually manage to cause downtime now, are the incredibly complex systemic disasters.
The deep software integration failures, catastrophic cyber attacks spanning IT and OT, global supply chain shortages for highly specialized silicon parts.
The easy fixes are gone. When a plant stops today, it's a structural nightmare. And as the incident response data points out, the human beings who actually know how to untangle these structural nightmares are disappearing.
Right, we are facing a massive skilled labor shortage in manufacturing.
The demographic shift is severe. The master electricians and veteran mechanical engineers who built these plants 30 years ago are retiring. Which brings us to the most critical realization about recovering from an industrial cyber attack. OT incident response cannot, under any circumstances, rely on an IT playbook.
It's not a guy in a hoodie sitting at a laptop looking at code.
Not at all. The ISA Global Cybersecurity Alliance, the ISA has developed a specialized program for this exact scenario called ICS-4ICS. It stands for Incident Command System for Industrial Control Systems.
That sounds heavily inspired by government disaster response. Like FEMA.
It is directly based on the National Incident Management System used by firefighters, paramedics, and first responders during physical disasters, because responding to an OT cyber attack looks much more like fighting a complex, multi-story structural fire than it does traditional digital forensics.
Walk me through what that actually looks like on the ground.
It involves establishing a rigid physical command structure. You aren't just coordinating software engineers. You are coordinating mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, and plant safety officers.
It's a whole multidisciplinary team.
Yes. Before anyone can even look at a computer screen, you have to secure physical safety. You have to ensure the environment is stable. You have to make sure the incident responders are wearing steel-toed boots, high-visibility vests, hard hats, and personal protective equipment before they step onto the factory floor to inspect a compromised PLC.
That is so far removed from an IT server room.
You might be coordinating with local environmental agencies to manage hazardous material spills caused by the attack. You are managing a violent physical crisis that just happens to have a digital root cause.
Wow. Okay. We have covered an immense amount of ground today, and we've gone incredibly deep into the mechanics of this invisible war. We started with the staggering financial reality of the stopwatch, $2.3 million an hour in automotive downtime.
Yeah, that stopwatch is still ticking.
It is. We unpacked a fundamental philosophical clash between IT's confidentiality first CIA triad and OT's availability first AIC triad, and why running a standard security scan can crash a factory.
And why the air gap is a myth, especially with all these remote access tunnels.
Exactly. We look at how adversaries like VaultSite are evolving from data thieves into industrial saboteurs, studying blueprints to reverse engineer safety systems like in the Triton attack.
It is an incredibly complex, rapidly evolving battlefield.
We walk through the economic devastation of the Jaguar Land Rover attack, where a single phone call to an IT help desk to steal a VPN password forced a multi-billion-dollar global shutdown because of the tightly wound nature of just-in-time manufacturing.
The butterfly effect of a single Vishen call.
We explored the Purdue model, the absolute necessity of the passive linguist in the AirDucts decoding Modbus, and finally the agonizing backup paradox, where restoring the data means absolute nothing without the operational confidence to safely restart the physical machinery.
And every single one of these elements is compounding on the others.
It's a battlefield that remains completely invisible to the vast majority of us, yet it silently underpins every single aspect of our modern lives. The clean water coming out of your kitchen tap, the steady electricity keeping your refrigerator cold, the car you drive to work. All of it relies on the uninterrupted, highly delicate balance of these industrial control systems.
It really does.
Understanding this vulnerability isn't just a niche topic for cybersecurity professionals. It is fundamentally about the resilience of modern human civilization.
If we are going to leave the listener with one final provocative thought to chew on, I think it connects directly back to that recovery time statistic and the demographic shift we discussed.
Let's hear it.
As these cyber attacks get more sophisticated and as our factories become more deeply interwoven with the cloud and remote access portals, we're slowly realizing that our ultimate defense isn't a magical piece of AI software or a new firewall. The ultimate defense is the institutional knowledge of the human operators.
The people on the floor.
The men and women who intuitively know what the factory floor is supposed to sound like. The veteran engineers who can place a hand on a metal casing and know the exact healthy vibration of a turbine, or who can look at a chemical reaction through a reinforced window and know if the pressure gauge is lying to them.
But with that skilled manufacturing workforce rapidly aging out.
Right, with them aging out and tech-focused remote IT security personnel increasingly taking over the operational controls from hundreds of miles away, we have to ask a very difficult question. As an industry, are we losing the physical human intuition required to save our most critical infrastructure when the digital screens inevitably go dark?
If the linguist in the AirDucts doesn't understand the language anymore, and the engineer who knows the sound of the machine is retired, we are in deep trouble. That is a heavy, critical thought to leave on. That's all for this episode of Cybersecurity Under Pressure. Real attacks, real lessons.
It makes you look twice at every switch and valve out there.
See you in the next chapter.
have been listening to Cybersecurity Under Pressure. Real attacks, real lessons. Real incidents leave real lessons. Stay prepared, stay critical, and keep following the evidence.